Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback, has announced today, Joe, that he is going to be returning for the 2025 season. You were talking about you covering the draft, and you had mentioned to me, because I'm not really a big NFL guy, really, not at least not draft guy, really. You had told me that people really had thought that there was a chance that Cade Klubnik was going to go into the draft. Nevertheless, he announced that he's coming back to Clemson for his final season. I guess your instant reaction to Cade Klubnik returning to Clemson for 25.
Yeah, I've always been a little negative on Clemson when we've talked about him on this show, but anyone who listened to our reaction to Texas and Clemson, that matchup in the first round of the CFP, we were both really impressed by the way that Klubnik played. He has shown us a lot of really good things in a lot of development over this final stretch of the year. We knew, and all we heard about was when he was coming out of high school, former 5-star, former number 1 quarterback in his class, that he had the goods to be a future first overall pick. He's just not there yet. And next season in 2025,
you don't think he's a first-round pick right now?
Not in this. Like if he declared right now, which was what the decision was, if he was going to go back to school or if he was going to be a part of the 2025 NFL draft, he probably would not have been a first-round pick. His decision to return gives him one more year of development. And if we saw this rapid rate of progression and improvement from him with this upcoming year to have those freshmen, young receivers that made the big, huge plays that they did in this late stretch of the season, for us to see that and to know that we get one more year, it's going to be huge for his draft stock. But more importantly, I alluded to this previously on a previous show, Clemson should be one of the leading favorites to win the ACC. They should. Having experience at quarterback and assuming that they can, deal with some of the roster holes that they have, and there's some development of these high school guys that they have that haven't come up yet from some good recruiting classes that they had 2-3 years ago, they should be leading that discussion of winning the ACC, because across the board, it's a lot of teams that have a lot of question marks that lost a lot of guys to the portal or are starting over with brand new head coaches.
Cade Klubnik had 42 total touchdowns and 8 total turnovers this year. The kid was a TD machine. I mean, let's look at the last 3 games. Some very good front sevens, South Carolina, SMU, and Texas. I mean, he threw for 336 against Texas, and he had 3 passing touchdowns. He did have the pick. Threw 4 against SMU. He had the 2 big rushing touchdowns against South Carolina, who, Joe, you and I thought probably had the best duo at edge in the country with Stewart and Kennard. I look at him and say, look, there's so much growth. The problem, I don't want to say that it's a problem. The question that I have with Clemson going into next year, you couldn't stop anybody from running the football on you. And if Klubnik is going to be, and if Clemson is going to be something special, he's going to have to take that next step. But here's the thing. When I look at Klubnik, Joe, every single year, he's taken a leap in reference to what he's done in certain areas. He had more yards this year. He had more touchdowns, clearly. The turnovers cut literally in half from where they did a year ago. So I look at him and say, look, man, you have a junior quarterback that's coming back. When you have that kind of dude behind, as your signal caller, good things can happen for you. The question ultimately becomes, what does he have around him, and can those weapons help him? Because defensively, I don't know. I don't see the feeling in the roster where you're going to be better in certain areas. So I look at Clemson. They would have you would feel like that they will have a lot coming back. It's just going to be interesting to see. This will be year 3 going into a system with Riley, Garrett Riley. Considering, Joe, he took such a massive leap from yardage and turnovers, I do wonder what happens with him in year 3 with Riley. I thought they were a lot more prolific this year. And, man, look, Texas is not a slouch defensively. So they were able to do some really good things. And, Joe, quite honestly, he made the throws that were able to lead them to keeping that game close.
Right. He's certainly not perfect, because there were still areas where, you see late game mistakes or mistakes in crucial situations against South Carolina. Wasn't perfect against Texas. But a lot of the reason for their comeback wasn't just from their receivers, Clemson's receivers, making big plays. It was him making the right decisions. It's the flashes that you see for a guy that in his second season, starting his 3rd year with Garrett Riley calling the plays, where that promise is. a lot of times, and one of the things that and I'm going to bring this up the entirety of the offseason, a lot of the things that we love to talk about on, hey, this team could win a national championship. Hey, this team should win their conference. One of the things that we bring up is multi-year starting quarterbacks returning with the same offensive or defensive coordinators and head coach, all of that marriage returning to a team. So to have that chemistry that is growing and improving and getting better every single year, to have that and to see the progression, it's not like it's been a slight progression. There has been pretty big jumps over periods of time with a couple of lows that were disappointing, like when they lost to Louisville. The underperformance, certainly the way that they finished last year was at least positive. Him and Riley coming back, I think, is really big for this Clemson team. I'm excited to dive into the roster when we do like the full off-season evaluation on them, which we probably won't do until May or June. But there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Clemson fan.
I can't go there because I mean, listen, man, everybody ran on you. So
that's why they went after and got Will Helt, and I would hope that their D line.
Will Helt ain't gonna help the interior of that D line. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. So we'll see. I mean, they got, if Woods comes back, they got Sammy Brown, isn't that the kid, the middle linebacker?
Yep.
Kid's really good, man. He can run sideline to sideline. So we'll see. But dude's gonna have to go off. And look, they got a tough game in LSU in week 1. LSU hadn't won a game in week 1 in 5 years since Joe Burrow's been there. So I mean, we'll have to ultimately wait and see and find out here. Okay.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.